From voyeuristic photos to explicit acts, public transport is now increasingly becoming unsafe for women. Mobility is essential for independence and opportunity, but it comes at the cost of their dignity and privacy. Stronger enforcement, surveillance and societal changes are urgently needed to make public spaces truly safe for women. But investigation has begun into this case, which is the good news here. Banashankari Police in Bengaluru have registered an FIR on the 20th of May under Section 67 of the IT Act, which is also for digital spread of those videos and photos that have been taken, and also under BNS for stalking. Now, the videos have been deleted and Telegram channel has been taken down. But the larger question remains, how do women fight this broader culture of impunity in cases involving digital and sexual crimes against women, because all their time is being spent just being vigilant? That's what we discuss tonight. Joining us now is a group of experts. But first, before we go to our guests, let's look at the special report that was sent by my colleague Deepak Bhopanna.
A case where an individual was clicking pictures of women without their consent and posting it online, of course, has raised some serious concerns, especially for women travelers. Here with me outside Bengaluru metro station are a few women. Tell me, you must have, come across this story where, an individual was posting obscene pictures of women without their consent. You travel regularly in the metro, I believe. You're standing right outside one. Does this really, make you feel like, does it really put you off when you're traveling in the metro?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we usually come through metro because it used to be considered, one of the safe options than BMTC or an auto or something. So when we realize, we've been seeing this on social media now, it really put me off a lot. And that even our parents, they're like, "Arey metro mein mat jao, it's very unsafe now." There's people clicking pictures of women, and it's something that I was really shocked. It's not something we usually see on metros especially. But yeah, that's very saddening, to be honest, but yeah.
Absolutely. And what was even more surprising is that the number of followers and the traction that page was gaining. So on one hand, you have a individual who's so deranged that he actually clicks these pictures and gets some joy out of putting it online. And then you have so many people following it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand because, I feel like we daughters are always raised to, try to be safe everywhere. But these sons aren't raised to respect women outside. So I think these sons need to be taught by their parents to respect women outside, even in the metro, and they shouldn't be supporting these kind of things because if they talk about their sister or their mother, they would be angry, but since it's strangers, they're not bothered. So I think it's unfair.
From the police, what action would you expect? Because they've already registered a case now.
Yeah, they should take a serious action because this is not a small issue that have raised. They should be serious, and metro also should take more safety for women. Yeah.
Well said. Let me, in fact, also I want to ask you another question. She did mention that the metro officials as well should probably look into this more keenly. Do you think that there should be more security, or if the staff notice anybody randomly taking videos, that should be prevented? There are CCTVs as well. Probably monitoring should happen using that as well.
Yes, I think that is very necessary because you, as the other person said, it. We believe it to be one of the safest places. So if there's a lot more security or a lot more people to check on, wrong actions and wrong behaviors, I think it would be better, and we might actually feel at least little more safe.
Let me tell you a little bit about this case. There was an Instagram page called Metro Chicks that openly uploaded secretly recorded videos and pictures of female passengers on Namma metro, which is in Bengaluru. And if you look at these clips, they zoomed in on women's private body parts and also their faces, and they were all shared publicly to over 6,000 followers. There was also a Telegram link on the Insta account which had similar content, and the captions were mostly like "finding beautiful girls in Bengaluru." These are pictures that completely objectified women and clicked pictures of them and uploaded pictures of them that were clicked without their consent. And most of these photos also featured disturbing background music. Clearly, this is an invasion of privacy, but most importantly, investigation has started into this case. What we understand is that an FIR has been lodged against an accused, and police in Bengaluru are trying to find out what really happened. Remember, all of this was brought to surface, was highlighted by a user, a male user who spoke to us yesterday, and he said that it was his wife who saw this account and she wanted him to post this on social media. The man posted this on social media and he tagged Bengaluru police, which is when the action was taken. Now, of course, all that content has been removed, but most importantly, the question of this broader culture of impunity in cases that involve digital sexual crimes against women. There are laws in place, that their implementation remains a problem. And this is something about awareness also, because a lot of these women may not even know that their photos have been clicked and they are part of this Insta account, of course now deleted. Remember, this is a case of voyeuristic photos to explicit acts. Public transport clearly is becoming unsafe for women in many cities. There is an insistence on increasing CCTV coverage, but most importantly, my colleague Deepak joins us with more details on this. Deepak, tell us the latest about the update in investigation when it comes to this case in Bengaluru of this one user uploading several pictures of random women taking the metro. Now, of course, all that content has gone down, but tell us, where has the investigation proceeded and what do we know so far?
The challenge for the police really is, lack of basic information as to who this individual is. That's the reason they've written to Meta. They've here hoping that they will be getting information about who this person is, because whenever you create an Instagram account, you need to give basic details such as your email ID, sometimes even the phone number. The police are waiting for these details. Meanwhile, the IP address from where these photographs were uploaded, that's being searched as well. So it's an extensive investigation, predominantly technical in nature at this point in time, considering the fact that they don't know who this individual is. The FIR has been registered under, Section 77 BNS, also 67 of the IT Act, against unknown person. So the challenge here is to this individual is. Next procedure, of course, will be to predominantly understand whether this individual just uploaded these pictures on this page on just Instagram or other pages on other social media platforms as well.
Right. Thank you, Deepak, for joining us with those details. We also have Khushbu Sundar, actor turned politician, joining us now. Khushbu ma'am, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. I was just telling our viewers that the Insta page called Metro Chicks openly uploaded secretly recorded videos of female passengers. And if you look at these clips, and I was looking at them yesterday, they zoom into women's bodies, they show their faces, and the captions are all "finding beautiful girls on Namma Metro," a complete objectification, and the background music is also quite disturbing. How do you see incidents of voyeurism like this on public transport? Because most of these women did not even know that they were being clicked. I think most of them didn't, I think all of them did not know that they were being clicked, and they were randomly sleeping, eating, talking. They were just doing things that we do, and they got clicked, and now they're all part of this Insta account. How do you see this act?
This is a complete invasion of privacy where men are exploiting women who are on public platforms. Any kind of a public platform, it's a very normal thing for a woman to be on in any of these public places. Now, uploading the pictures which have been taken without their permission and uploading it on a particular site on a social platform, I'm sure this calls for a criminal offense, and they should be charged, not only those who have been hired by this particular page on Instagram, but I think even the page itself, who has actually a page called Metro Chicks, I think that has to be charged. The people who are have opened this site, they should be charged, and they should be, and a criminal offense should be charged against them, and immediate action should be taken.
Right. Also, I'll just come back to you, ma'am. Renuka Chaudhary, former minister, also joins us. Lalita Kumaramanglam, who has headed NCW in the past. Both of you have been people who have been in charge of policies for women. Renuka, ma'am, to you first. How does one normalize the fact that you can call out a person taking pictures without consent? Because I was talking to people about this incident, and they said, just pictures. What's wrong with this? How do you normalize, guarding of one's privacy in a society like ours?
I'll tell you, it's happened with me. I was in an aircraft where you have those small aircraft which has those 3 seaters on one side. And I fell asleep leaning against the window, and something woke me up. And I realized the guy sitting in the center had turned in a way that we both look as if we are so cozy, and he was taking a picture of me fast asleep. And I asked him, I said, did you just take my picture? And he said, no, no, and he was smiling away. He was smiling for the camera when I caught him. And it's a violation. You feel violated. And it's nothing normal. You know, this happens, you have to recondition the women's mind also. There's nothing a picture. And for this, I respect Jaya Bachchan ji. She doesn't hesitate. She goes up to the guy, makes them delete the picture, and she does not allow anyone to take a picture of hers without her permission. And she calls them out. And she may not be popular. They don't like her for that, but so be it. And this is something that women have to learn to realize, that nothing is just a picture in today's technology where your head and body can be morphed, put onto some other thing, enter the grey areas, the grey web, and you'll find yourself regretting later. So it is just not acceptable. Zero tolerance for any of these, which is a violation of who we are and our purpose, and we don't need anyone's attention. We are not here to be somebody else's entertainment. We are not their perks in their jobs.
Right. Lalita Kumaramangalam, I was reading upon this. In a similar incident in Nagpur a few days ago, a man was caught taking pictures of women in a metro. He was caught by the crowd, handed over to police, but he was let go after he paid rupees 500 and he gave a written apology. Do you think stricter laws can work in handling crimes like this?
I agree with part of what Renuka Chaudhary ji said, that most of us should have the guts to call it out. Unfortunately, we live in a society where we are always constantly told, koi baat nahi, adjust karo, choti hi to baat hai. Like you said, that they said it's just a photo. But an invasion of privacy is an invasion of privacy, whether it is just a photo or anything else. As Renuka ji rightly pointed out, it can be morphed into anything. Many claims are made, and we live in too highly sexualized a society where women are merely looked as objects. I think one of the things that one should be done, I don't know about the law around this, but I don't think there's a law that can really tell somebody that you can't name and shame anybody. The problem is that even now, if a woman turns around, 90% of us, Jaya Bachchan has a different reputation, etc., she may be able to get away with it. And I use the words get away very consciously, because that's the equation that women are looking at. That if I do this, will I be more shamed? Or will I actually have somebody who stands by me, especially in a public place? I have seen something, it's not mob lynching,
right,
but it's definitely mob, sort of, "Arey, chodo yaar, choti baat hai." They go on and on and on. And it can really shame women. Once a case like that came to us in the NCW, and we really found it very difficult to find a law where we could actually, say that in open society, in public, women should not be outraged in any way, whether it is by name calling, shouting, beating, slapping, harassing, taking photos. There are so many ways that it's done.
Right.
We need to start some sort of training seriously, and the only word that comes to mind here is training of people, not just men, women, everybody, that we need to respect women. There's a severe lack, a very huge gap in respect of women. Whether it's a little baby girl or, an old woman or your own mother or somebody on the road or a colleague, etc., the list is endless.
Right.
It's very shameful that in a country that has so much culture where women are worshipped, revered, etc., this sort of thing goes on.
Right.
And social media is probably the worst thing for this, worst.
Right.
I mean, it really is the pits. I often think that there's no point in being on social media, but unfortunately, it's too powerful a medium.
Right.
Social media, most of the men use these pictures on social media, to share.
Right.
One form or the other of social media.
Khushbu ma'am, do you think what kind of role does social media play in enabling and amplifying this kind of voyeuristic behavior? Because for women, social media has also been, a democratic space, but it also makes us feel unsafe, like Lalita ma'am was also saying. And filming of women in public spaces is not just violation of privacy. I feel that I hear a lot of complaints from women that illegal, non-consensual content is becoming rampant across social media. It also has led to blackmail. What kind of role should social media platforms be playing in this regard?
think what we definitely need to do is make sure that you have a platform where the complaints are taken. Which I have seen when you file complaints, when you say that, on social media, whether it is X or whether it's Instagram, and say this particular statement is something, which is objectionable, and this it comes under the lines of crossing the borderline and outraging the modesty or the respectability of the woman, you get a message back saying that no, we have done all the research and this is perfectly fine, we don't find anything wrong. So I really do not get the point. Where is the boundary line for these kind of social medias, and say, where do you stop? Because if a person is calling me names, if he is calling me something which is not acceptable or objectionable, or my mock pictures are out there, why is that Twitter or why is that Instagram is taking it and saying that it's perfectly fine under our the so-called boundary lines where we feel that this is not objectionable? Who are you to decide what is objectionable to me? I am a public figure. I am not a public property. And I always would like to say that any woman, for that matter, is not a public property. You cannot outrage her modesty. You cannot outrage her integrity or respectability. Right. Whether it is by morphing her pictures, putting out her pictures which is taken without her consent, or even writing the kind of comments you see where men and even women, they take this sadistic pleasure in accusing and calling out these women with outrageous, cheap names. Right. So I think we need to find a line. When you give the license to these kind of social platforms, we have to tell them that this is where the boundary line is and this is where we stop. Right. So you cannot allow X or you cannot allow Instagram to decide for me that what my Lakshman Rekha is.
Absolutely. Renuka Chaudhary, there's one thing that's also disturbing is that many of these incidents are taking place in public transport where there are bystanders, fellow commuters. How should they be empowered to intervene or not just be, completely indifferent to behavior like this? What kind of shift in cultural attitudes do you think is possible? Because I'm asking you realistically, we've been debating these questions for years, but clearly there needs to be some change.
No, I'll tell you, it has to be a multi-pronged approach. And to change human behavior takes a minimum period of 5 years. And if you look at countries like Australia and all, who've done some remarkable work, where they've taught their school children onwards that this is not acceptable behavior. And that is something that we need to imbibe. We are so hypocritical. We will reproduce like rabbits, but we will not teach our children sexual education. And if you go to see it earlier, the children now, girls and boys, are having premature maturity. They're coming into premature adolescence, and the hormones are changing as early as 8 years of age. If you look at the recent news lines, it's terrifying news reports. Young juveniles, 11-year-old, 10-year-old, committing rape. Did we even think that they were physically capable of doing something like that? But they are, obviously. So now we have to learn to shed our hypocrisy, take up this on a battle level, and all your school curriculums, you have to have exercises. Parents need to learn a language which they can communicate to the children and not just sweep things under the carpet. Parents have to be told that gender disparities have to vanish. And please look, we've made laws and laws and laws and bylaws. We know that. Yeah. Are they existing? Do they work? Does every industry have a complaint cell where the women can go and complain about a sexual offender? Do the governments, do political parties actually accept and do that? Do they punish the guys who are medicating girls and raping them and putting their pictures online? What about these dirty trolls who are, according to me, the world's worst cowards? They are deeply complexed men who probably have some deep sexual secrets, and that's why they get on and abuse women they don't even know. Right. They get online and get to the worst derivatives that they can think of. They abuse women like that, and they feel so powerful sitting behind that cowardice. Right. Now the police, we've said about the police, judiciary, we have terrifying judgments which have come where the judiciary needs to be sensitized also. So like continuous medical education, we have to have continuous gender education. across the board, to the police constables, to the new recruits, to the IFS, IAS, politicians. I believe that everyone in Parliament and all assembly segments don't think that we are the oracles and we know everything. We see this kind of discriminatory behavior even in politics, even in parliaments, even in assemblies. And so there's no wishing that this is going to vanish, and unless each one of us, and let me tell you, a caveat on Jaya Bachchan, she doesn't get away with it. She pays a price. She's trolled cruelly. The ugliest stories are put out about her which are not true at all. But this goes on. Now, if you're going to sit and worry about what that fellow thinks or what your neighbor thinks, I have an adage which I tell my children. Anyone who doesn't contribute to your health, happiness or bank balance, their opinion does not matter. Please stand up for yourself.
Important. Thank you all of you.
You must make it uncomfortable for men.
That's very important. And on that note, we end this discussion. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. So not just policy, we need change in cultural attitudes, and we need to stop normalizing the objectification of women in everyday spaces, particularly when they take public transport. And this is with regard to what happened on Bengaluru's Namma metro, where thousands of commuters travel daily. Women had unwittingly become targets of digital voyeurism. The investigation is on, and we'll keep tracking those details and bringing them to you as and when we get them. Meanwhile, moving on to other news, the first video of Washington attacker has come out now. This is a man who shot 2 Israeli embassy staff members. 2 Israeli embassy officials killed in the US today morning, and this is the video of the embassy attacker's arrest. In fact, 2 staff members were killed today, and this happened near Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., and this was an incident that was described by Israeli officials as an act of anti-Semitic terrorism. Kate Fisher joins us with more details on this. Kate, can you tell us a little bit about this video that has come out? Do we know something more about this attacker? Because there has been so much on social media on what was said, but do we know any confirmed, verified details on why did he kill those people, and what are the countries? How is the administration looking at this?
Well, I can tell you what we know so far, that this suspect that is in custody and being questioned by both federal and local officials is a 30-year-old man called Elias Rodriguez. He comes from Chicago, and this morning officers were searching an apartment that they believe he was living in. He is being questioned with regard to terrorism and hate crimes. The Deputy Director of the FBI has questioned him himself and reported that. We don't yet know why he came to Washington, D.C., why he particularly targeted this event, or indeed whether he was particularly targeting these people. That is yet to be revealed by law enforcement investigators. We know that there has been widespread condemnation of this from the Israelis and the US. President Trump saying that there is hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA, and this is clearly based in anti-Semitism. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, saying that his heart aches for the families and that he shares their deep grief. His foreign minister saying that this is an example of toxic anti-Semitic incitement against Jews and Israel that has only increased ever since the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. And it's not just the US president that is condemning this, but also members of the Democratic Party. This is a bipartisan condemnation of this attack here in the US Capitol.
Right. Kate, also quickly tell us, what is the Jewish community feeling about this? Do they feel that there's a certain lack of safety when it comes to their lives? Because this has happened with embassy officials, and these are people who are often seen as more guarded than common people.
Yeah, absolutely. They are obviously very concerned. Israel has upped security at all its diplomatic missions and embassies across the world in the light of what's happened here. And of course, there has been also responses in Israel itself. protests about this. This has been widely condemned from every corner, and of course it makes all those Israelis working all over the world more worried about what could happen to them and what risk they take by doing their jobs. I should note that the event that these young people were leaving was a networking event for young foreign policy workers in DC. And one of the speakers that was speaking there is, and I should just note that the Attorney General of the US, Pam Bondi, is here on the scene right now. You might be able to see her in the shot behind me. She's heading towards the location of the shooting. She's here to obviously investigate what's going on. She has said that, assured the Israelis that they will get to the bottom of this and make sure that justice prevails. But what I was just saying about the speakers at this meeting, at this event last night, they included a charity that is trying to work on the ground with Palestinians and Israelis to open up aid corridors to get aid into Gaza, and there was and the Multi-Faith Alliance was there too. So this was very much an evening where the Israelis and Palestinians were trying to see eye to eye.
Right. That's been a chilling crime. Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us. With that, it's time for a short break. More news and updates on the other side.